Deadline coming up on Saturday. I can't wait. I'm making the trek to Connecticut on Saturday to be a part of the festivities in Bridgeport, Connecticut for Deadline. I'm hoping anybody that's listening to me to grab up the few tickets that are still left. I want big representation from the Busted Open Nation at Deadline on Saturday for NXT. So, Shawn, you got to be happy. Another premium live event, another opportunity for NXT to be in front of new faces and a new crowd on Saturday.
Yeah, look, I think we've had momentum, right? I feel like everybody's excited. We're coming to the end of the year. Last premium live event of the year for NXT and the WWE. So Bridgeport, again, sort of like for us anyway, a coming home type. We're here in the headquarters up in Stamford right now, pretty close to you guys. So look, everybody in NXT is excited about Saturday. Stacked card, and we're gonna finish off the year in style.
Shawn, the matches on the card, is there one particular match? And I know I ask this a lot. Is there one particular match that really stands out to you that could steal the show?
Well, look, this is going to sound like a cliche answer, but one, anytime Ilya Dragunov is out there, he's going to give you everything he's got. And truthfully, Baron Corbin feels like he has something to prove. So that was going to be fantastic for the NXT Championship, no matter what. Look, I'm partial to the Iron Survivor matches. I think it was a fantastic concept. I mean, clearly, I do, because it was an idea that we had. I think it's something that debuted really successfully last year. The dynamic of those matches, I think, is pretty interesting. We've got a bunch of new faces this year in both the men's and the women's. So I think those two matches, I think I think they're going to rock. And if I was going to lean towards one, and it wouldn't have mattered if Wes Lee was still in that North American Championship match, but now the Dragon Lee versus Dom Mysterio, I think that one is going to be incredible, especially having Ray there in Dragon's corner. But again, it's a shortcoming home for Dragon Lee. We didn't quite get to have him as long as we wanted. And I know he feels the same way. So I think he's very excited about this. And so the North American Championship one, again, if I was going to try to narrow it down to one, Bubba, I think that's the one that I think you're probably going to have to keep an eye on. But look, into the year, and what I love about NXT, the competition between all these men and women to do just that, to steal the show, is something that is alive and well. And it's live and well on a daily basis there down in Florida. You know what I mean? And a performance center standpoint, these guys and gals are like that every day, just in the training. We're like that every Tuesday night during the live show. And so you can bet on a premium live event that it's going to be off the charts come Saturday night.
You know, Shawn, you just mentioned Wes Lee. What an emotional moment Tuesday night in the middle of that ring, making that announcement. I know you have emotional ties with him going back to Halloween Havoc last year when he was able to finally capture championship gold. How difficult was it for you to hear Wes Lee on Tuesday night?
Very. And I'll say this: I talked to Wes obviously for a long time. The day before, and I've been in that situation. And so, and again, it's amazing. That's why one of the reasons, again, Wes and I are so close. We're very similar when it comes to our passion, our admiration, and our love for the job that we do. And I knew that it broke his heart. And so what you saw Tuesday night, everybody knows that's Wes. That was real Wes Lee. And this was a huge match for him. But how serious it is when he can't make it. Wes has, and he's been gutting through. I was unaware of it, but he's been gutting through a lot of performances. And again, it's a credit to him. You never would have known that. But clearly the wear and tear is a bit too much. Incredibly emotional for everybody. Because again, we are a family down there in Florida. And again, when one person gets affected, it affects all of us. And so, it was a tough night for Wes, But the thing is, we are going to be with him every step of the way, and he's going to come through this on the other side. A guy like Wes Lee, what you see is what you get when you see him on Tuesday nights. Nothing's going to keep that young man down. So he will be back, and we will be here waiting with open arms when he is.
Shawn, whenever I hear somebody use the term family when it comes to the locker room, I'm a bit cynical about it, because I'm like, yeah, when things are going good and the boys are making money, we're all happy. So yeah, we're one big happy family. But when things are not going so well, it's just a matter of time before we stab each other in the back or cut each other's throat. And that's just the nature of the business. I was fortunate to come up in what I thought was a pro wrestling family in ECW. We had a unique camaraderie. What about the NXT locker room now? What is unique about the locker room now as compared to maybe a couple of years ago, where you can use the term family to describe them?
Well, first of all, I want to say you're spot on again, and you know that, and I got it. That's one of the reasons I love talking to you every now and then on this, Bubba, is that the love for the business and family, a lot of things they get said, and yeah, it is cynical. So I understand, and I think what you said is probably fair, and in the future I need to be better, I guess, about expressing that. It's a unique camaraderie, and it's much like what you all had when you were in ECW. It's when you feel like you're doing something special together, something different, being innovative, and look, that's what we've got going on there. Now, I will say, because we have so many young men and women, it is sort of the purest form of that you're going to get in this business, because they haven't been too jaded, and that cynicism hasn't quite seeped in yet. And so I guess that's one of the reasons I use the word family like that, because it is, at least at the very beginning, it is very genuine. And it is, for me, being sort of like the papa of all of this, it's a nice feeling. And again, look, we do have a few men and women here and there, because again, you start thinking about, moving up, and you see other people get called up, and now it does get a bit more competitive. And as you say, maybe those sabers come out a little bit, but look, it really is as close to the familial aspect as we're going to get. But I think special camaraderie is also accurate, as you pointed out. And look, it is because we do feel like we've been doing something really special. I think this whole 2.0 crew sort of got labeled early on, as you know, and again, much like you guys did in ECW. And when you do that, you start to wear that as a badge of honor. And all of a sudden, that chip on your shoulder is something that you're kind of proud of. And I think that's what more than anything I'm speaking of when I talk about that familial aspect. And we feel like we have turned that corner to where a lot of people do think NXT is the best 2-hour wrestling show out there today. And again, we will stand by that. We will put our show up against anybody, because we think we've got a great 2-hour television show that takes place every Tuesday night, and we'll compete with anybody. And our young men and women know that, they feel that, and they're ready to go to battle.
Shawn, you just referred to yourself as Papa. How did rebellious Shawn Michaels turn into Papa Shawn Michaels?
Yeah, well, it's look, a lot of it, obviously, but my wife and children, that mellowed me out quite a bit. But I'm telling you, that performance center, it really is. It brings that out of you, that hunger and that passion. And as I say, Bubba, it's at the beginning. It's at the beginning when I just want to be. I want to go out there and perform. I want to be a pro wrestler. When I don't know, like I said, when all those other things you didn't know of, the backstabbing, and you just wanted to do it. And the fact that you were getting paid was a bonus, on top of it. So I think those are the things that, and I'll say this, I've been down the road many times. And look, I also feel like I can be a cautionary tale. I want to help people get through this process. They're not going to go through anything that I haven't gone through. They're not going to have an emotion that goes through their head. Bubba, again, we've thought it all, whether we've expressed it or not. We've had every one of those thoughts that these young men and women are going to have about whether they make it or can't make it, the good, the bad, the ugly, all of that. And look, I'm there at least as a resource to be able to help them get through it and help them avoid some of the pitfalls, that either myself or I saw someone else go through. So that's where you go from being that rebellious guy to being Papa, because you want what's best for them. And that's the way I feel about that entire group down there.
Shawn, earlier in this show, we were talking about all the pro wrestling that's out there during the course of a week. There's a lot. And Bully and I were talking about how NXT kind of stands above a lot of those shows because of the storytelling. Not just the storytelling, but also the balance of all the talent that you have. They're growing, they're new, they're learning. But at the same time, you have a gift of getting everybody almost equal TV time. Everyone that's a part of the roster looks like a star. They don't get lost. I'm sure that's extremely difficult to do, because I don't know if there's any other show that's able to do it other than NXT. How hard is it to balance that roster and make sure that everybody gets time enough on television?
Well, it is a long process. And, look, you guys were talking to him earlier. I give, a lot of credit to my head writer, Johnny Russo. But we've got a list of people there, and we try to just go through and try to, we look at it and like, do they have representation? Let's not forget about look. And also what helps us, our show moves. Okay. We're not going to sit on stuff all day long. We're not going to hang on a shot for 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006. We're going to move. And that helps us as well. But it really is, look, we enjoy doing that. We think that does help the show move by having more backstages. One huge advantage I think we also have, again, it's what we have there at the Performance Center. I know sometimes people would love to see NXT out on the road every week. And look, there's a part of me, it's a balancing act. There's a part of me that would love to maybe bring that to NXT in the future. But what really does afford us a lot of things that other shows don't have is the fact that we do have an area that we can sort of change and mix up and really adapt to different situations. And I don't know you always have that if you're going to a different facility every week and you don't know what it looks like.
Shawn, one of the conversations that we have here a lot is about referees. I have a very strong feeling on referees. You being one of the greatest to ever do this, Ric Flair calling you one of the greatest to ever do this, if not the greatest. I want to hear from your mouth, how important are referees in a professional wrestling match?
So I want to tell you, I feel like I was a guy when I was in there, and it was in WWE, and it was really starting to notice when they were hustling as much as we were, and they started making those near kickouts really mean something. That's when the light bulb went off in my head. It's like, oh my goodness, you really, this is, I don't know, you go into it thinking about you at first, and then it's you and him and the story. But boy, you forget about that third guy. And if you can make everybody in there work as hard, you know what I mean, as we can, it really enhances the match. The way you can use that third individual to help tell that story. So it was something to me that I learned again as I was in the WWE and slowly progressing. And then now that I've gone to this side, this is straight out honest, Bubba. I struggle because, it's now changed to where we can't, they can't just miss everything, and you can't have a lot of a lot of the tropes maybe that we used to have. And I find myself now asking them and talking to them like, okay, creatively, this is kind of what I need. What can I do? What can we do to get there that doesn't compromise you guys? So it really is, again, to your point, it's hard for me to express how important it is now, because they're almost on an even, even level with all of the performers there, because when everything's said and done at the end of the match, when it's, the finish comes down, they're a vital part of that. And so I find myself again going forward, having to not fall back on some of those much easier ways and, tropish ways, if you will, because of the referee and because of the credibility we're trying to give them going forward. And I will be the first one to admit, I'm still struggling with that aspect and learning to get better about that. But that's what I dig about the job, is that it's always changing, always evolving.
So is the struggle in your mind, you're the way you would put something together is you wouldn't pay so much attention to the referee as keeping credibility on the referee today?
Well, look, I think it makes me have to be a lot more creative, not to fall back on we can just do this.
Amen.
It's the same easy cop out. And you so want to take it because we used to be able to do it 10 years ago or 15 years ago, but we can't do it now because it insults our viewer. And again, like I said, I'll be the first one to admit I can grow in that area as well. But again, that's what I dig about this is trying to find out what that new, that's what innovation is, right? It's not what we used to do. It's about what we're going to start doing.
It's funny, Shawn, you were always loyal to the WWF WWE brand, always. I went on a rant a couple of days ago because you have Seth Rollins, who's been very, very loyal to the WWE brand. And here comes CM Punk, the flavor of the week. And everybody's like CM Punk to the point where Seth Rollins is in the ring getting CM Punk chants. For you, how do you feel about that dynamic where you have somebody like a Seth Rollins who's been extremely loyal, but the fans are going to gravitate to the new flavor of the week?
Look, it is another one. It's another one of those steps that you go through the process. If you are here long enough, you will see all of them. And it's funny because almost everyone, well, not everyone. If everyone did it, then everyone would understand. But when you start out as you want to become that top guy, and then you become that top guy, and then you see these other people sort of come in and you go, geez, those part-timers and taking spots and stuff like that. And then one day you get to the point where you go like, I still want to work, but I don't want to be working all the time. And then all of a sudden now you are the part-timer and you are that guy. Look, I understand it on everyone's level. And it gets the same thing that where I feel like I have the advantage in NXT of having gone through everything that everyone is going to go through. It's funny, I think Hunter mentioned it in an interview not too long ago. If you've covered darn near every aspect of this industry, which I've been fortunate enough to do, good and bad, you learn not to judge. You learn not to get upset. You understand that nothing keeps the machine from rolling. And that no one is the biggest or the best. Everyone is replaceable. All those things that we all sort of know, but you always feel like you're not going to be the one doing it. But if you do this long enough, you will. You'll either be the guy accusing or you'll be the guy accused. Again, that you're the person that's, enjoying it or not enjoying it if you do it long enough. And so it's just one of the necessary evils of the business. But again, ultimately, it always comes down to what is the bottom line and what is best for business. And I think over time, everybody understands that, or at least hopefully.
Deadline coming up on Saturday. I will be there. I cannot wait for Saturday. If you can't be in Connecticut, make sure you check it out on Peacock, exclusively on Peacock, premium live event for NXT Deadline coming up on Saturday. But if you can, there's a few tickets left. Be like me. Come hang out with me in Bridgeport, Connecticut for Deadline. Big show to end 2023. Mr. Michaels, thank you so much for the time. We truly appreciate it.
You bet. Thank you guys very much. And again, thanks for all the support for us, even the times when I'm not on here. Thank you all very much.
What did you think of the match last night between Adam Copeland and Christian Cage?
I liked everything about last night's match and angle. And just to get back to just real quick to touch on, we were talking about Moxley and Rush and how they got away from the rules a little bit last night, especially with people brawling outside of the ring. And the announcers tried to cover it up by saying the referee wanted to be lenient. I wish they would have left that for the main event because of the personal angle involved, the personal story, plus the championship on the line. I wish the leniency would have been left for the main event and not for the Continental Classic, where the rules should be adhered to. That's first. But as far as the physicality, as far as the story and everything that they did, I really liked the main event last night. A couple people called in and they were like, yeah, the finish seemed off, or it seemed like they had a bunch of ideas but couldn't come to a conclusion on one, so they just threw it all together. And then people were talking about the mom. I thought everybody did a good job. Like, did you have a different opinion than me? Did you not think that match and angle came off well?
A couple of things. Number one, and we talked about this yesterday. We actually had a discussion about it on the show with Tommy. A lot of people, like I noticed, were saying like, "Oh man, I waited so long for these guys to have a match, and that's the way it ends." Like, yeah, this is just the beginning. They're scratching the surface. Did you really want to see Adam Copeland beat Christian Cage for the championship last night? That come on, you couldn't have gone into that match last night thinking that was going to happen. This is just the beginning. This is going to be, I think, a long chase. They're finally, AEW is doing a good job of slowing things down, not rushing to the finish of things. This is just one chapter, which I think is going to be a great book between Adam Copeland and Christian Cage.
Dave, I had somebody call into After Dark last night and they said they didn't like the finish. I get, what didn't you like about it? They're like, well, I would have liked to have seen Christian win clean. And I'm like, what? Like, what? Like, this is where I scratch my head sometimes with fans. Like, what good would come of Christian winning clean? The bad guy would have just beat the good guy. We're supposed to have all this emotional investment in the good guy, but the bad guy just wins with his finish. Then where do you go?
That makes no sense. And I can't believe there was such outrage over that match. I made a little joke about Shayna Wayne. Obviously, we talked about her promo a couple weeks as well. She's from the outside coming in. You're going to get a little bit of wonkiness. I thought Tony Schiavone and the commentators did a good job of covering for her as well. They were talking about that she seemed like she was conflicted. But I even like the way they did the ref bump last night. Like, you didn't see the ref bump. The action was moving so fast that you didn't even actually see where the ref bump happened.
Sure you did.
No, it's like, when?
He got kicked in the balls.
No, but before he got kicked in the balls, their Edge must have grazed him. So he
grazed him and he went down. And then when he was getting back up, he had his back turned to Christian. Okay.
Then you had the nut shot. But I like that. I like that. Seems more realistic to me. I feel like a lot of times, Bully, fans get caught up in the paint by numbers pro wrestling where this happens and that's why there's a ref bump. I actually like the fact that the action was happening so quickly that the ref actually got grazed. We didn't know what happened. It wasn't obvious. It wasn't like the referee was in a bad position and got ran into or something like that. I kind of dug that last night. And then the ref isn't looking. His face is turned towards the crowd, not inside the ring. And then you have the low blow that he's down for. And a great sells job, too, because a lot of times with the referee, they're like looking up. They're not sure where they are or where they are in the match. You know what, dude? If Christian Cage came from behind me and gave me a nut shot, he damn straight I'd be on the ground holding my nuts. And that's what we got last night. And then I kind of like now, because where is this going to go? When you get when you get what happened to Nick Wayne, like what Adam Copeland did to Nick Wayne, do you really don't think that his own mom there's not going to be ramifications for that? I thought they told a really good story last night. Storyline wise, I thought it was well done.
Why? Did you think something was not well done?
No, it's a little bit of a nitpick. I thought Shayna Wayne could have did a better job of selling when she did come into the ring, but that's a small thing. It's not a big deal. I mean, don't buy too much into it.
No, I'm not, because I
It's
think
just a
she
small
did.
thing.
I
Yeah.
think she did as good of a job as she could possibly do with having a very limited amount of time in front of a camera. On a side note, Shayna Wayne can blast me with a championship belt anytime she'd like.
Wow.
Wow. I was thumbs up on the main event. I was thumbs up on the work. I cannot agree with any of the negative feedback that I have heard on this match.
Now, don't get and I don't understand why people are like, why would Shayna Wayne do that to Adam Copeland? Didn't Adam Copeland give Nick a concerto? So that's his mom. Of course she's gonna do that. I don't understand why people are in such shock and awe. So
there are situations in real life that a mom stands by their child no matter how wrong the child has done, because she's still the child's mom.
yeah.
And think of Shayna Wayne in this situation. Not only is that my son, but that's the son of my husband who has passed away. She is going to try to defend him and keep him as close as possible. I want to see Christian get in everybody's head so much that he actually marries Shayna Wayne and now becomes Nick Wayne's legitimate stepdad. That's just all Hollywood, pro wrestling entertainment BS.
Go with it. Why not? We talked about, remember it was a couple years back with Buddy Murphy and Rey Mysterio's daughter, where they were telling a good story, but you and I were talking about, man, I wish they would go to that next level with this story. And they never really did. I felt like they only scratched the surface with it. Here in AEW, they could go a little bit deeper. And I feel like they are. And I think for fans that are doubting this, man, you're talking about two of the all-time greats with Adam Copeland and with Christian Cage. If you really think that these two guys are going to disappoint you, you're making a grave mistake. I can't wait to see what the next chapter is. But Bully, it blows my mind that people thought that the story was going to end last night. How could you think it was going to end on just a random episode of Dynamite? There's so much story to tell. We got a pay-per-view that's coming up in less than a month. Don't you want your hottest story to bleed into 2024? I mean, come on.
Copeland and Christian should end in an I Quit match, where Adam finally makes Christian quit and give up. That's what I'd like to see, because there's nothing more demoralizing than having to say, I quit. It killed Terry Funk to have to say, I quit to Ric Flair.
Yep.
That's the way. There's gimmick matches to be had here. There's scenarios to be had here. There's lots of legs to this. This is the beginning chapters in what should be a good, long, drawn out story.
And I don't, and please, to the fans, I don't want to act like I'm a teacher here and I'm yelling at the class, because I know the majority of
that's
fans,
my job.
Yeah, but I think the majority fans get it. But I'm just talking to the fans and the nation here. Let's enjoy this story. Look at what the Bloodline gave us. Look at all the months and months of great storytelling that the Bloodline gave us, because we weren't impatient. We waited for things to happen. If there was a bit of a curveball, we said, let's wait it out and see what happens next week. And then we saw it make sense and understood why it went that way. It's the same thing here. They're just adding new elements to the story. This story is just getting started. This is just getting started. Sit in your chair, put your seatbelt on, and let's go for one hell of a ride, because I believe that Adam Copeland and Christian Cage are going to take us for one hell of a ride.